If you want a unit today, let me know. I'll let you get one.
I appreciate the gesture, but usually
I wasn't a jester. A jester is a guy who juggles.
Jarrod Schulz just broke his silence, and it's far from the comeback fans expected. Once fondly known as the bold half of the Young Guns alongside Brandi Passante, Jarrod built a reputation as a risk-taking bidder who turned abandoned storage lockers into an empire. But behind the cameras, his life was falling apart in ways the audience never saw coming or imagined. What really happened to Jarrod behind the scenes, and what shocking news is he revealing now after a long silence? Join us as we uncover what happened to Jarrod Schulz and the shocking update about him, the event that shattered everything. On the evening of April 30th, 2021, Jarrod's carefully managed public persona was suddenly overshadowed by a news no one expected. Jarrod's name had been mentioned to be at the center of a violent confrontation that sent shockwaves to everyone. The incident began on what appeared to be an ordinary night at a bar in Lake Forest, California. Brandi Passante, Jarrod's co-star, was out with friends, enjoying a rare night away from cameras and public attention. Jarrod appeared unexpectedly, and what started as a verbal disagreement reportedly escalated into a physical altercation. Multiple witnesses later told authorities that Jarrod allegedly pushed Brandi twice during the encounter. The Orange County District Attorney's Office confirmed that evidence from witness statements supported these claims. It didn't end there. Law enforcement was called promptly, and the incident quickly made headlines. Police reports detailed officers arriving at the scene, finding Jarrod present, and Brandi among the onlookers. Though no visible injuries were documented, the severity of the event led to the filing of a misdemeanor domestic violence battery charge. Jarrod was arrested on the spot, booked, and later arraigned in Orange County Court, marking a dramatic turn for someone whose fame had been built on competitive skill and television charm rather than controversy. In the immediate aftermath, Brandi secured a restraining order. This underscored the seriousness of the confrontation and legally limited Jarrod's ability to contact or approach her. Jarrod also publicly denied any physical contact, insisting that he had not pushed Brandi. Despite his claims, the district attorney pursued formal charges, indicating that law enforcement and witness statements provided sufficient grounds to proceed with the case. The timing of the incident also amplified its impact. By 2021, Jarrod and Brandi were no longer a couple, though their separation had remained largely private. The revelation of their split to the public, combined with news of the confrontation, transformed what might have been a personal dispute into a widely publicized event. Fans of Storage Wars were stunned. For years, Jarrod and Brandi had cultivated an image of unity and partnership both on screen and off. And seeing Jarrod arrested in connection with Brandi was something that many viewers could hardly have imagined. The legal ramifications were immediate and unstoppable, too. In California, a misdemeanor domestic violence battery charge carries potential consequences, including fines, probation, and in some cases, jail time. The restraining order by Brandi also added another layer of complexity and made several people believe Brandi over what Jarrod had to say, legally restricting Jarrod's movements and interactions with Brandi, while simultaneously placing him under heightened public scrutiny. For someone who was used to controlling his narrative through television appearances and auction strategies, this was a situation entirely beyond his control. The incident also had broader implications for his reputation and career. The controversy became a dominant topic in social media discussions, news outlets, and online forums. For Jarrod Schulz, April 30th, 2021 became a turning point. The evening's confrontation, combined with legal action and public scrutiny, represented a collision of his personal life with the persona he had built over years of television exposure. While a confrontation could cause havoc as this, one has to ask, what was Jarrod Schulz's story before he became a recognizable personality? Life before storage wars. Long before millions knew Jarrod Schulz as the young gun of storage wars, Jarrod Schulz was just a young man in his early 20s. At this age, he had made several choices that nearly derailed his life. His turning point came on January 27, 1997, when the police arrested him for possession of methamphetamine. This was a serious offense that marked the beginning of a difficult chapter in his life. This was not his first run-in with the law or substances, but the gravity of this incident signaled that things were escalating. Initially, it seemed Jarrod might have been given a chance to turn things around. The judge overseeing his case appeared lenient, offering him what seemed like a second opportunity. He was sentenced to 2 months in a local jail, followed by strict probation, on the condition that he plead guilty to the charges. For a young man at the crossroads of his life, it felt like a structured way to regain control and avoid a permanent criminal record. However, his freedom was short-lived. Barely a week after his release, Jarrod was arrested again. This time, the circumstances were more serious. He was found in possession of another illegal and more dangerous drug and was driving under the influence. The quantity of drugs was also greater than in his first offense, signaling a troubling pattern. The same judge presided over this new case and delivered a stern judgment, stating that Jarrod had wasted the second chance that had been generously afforded to him. The court concluded that his behavior demonstrated a dangerous pattern and cannot be treated with levity. Unlike the 2-month sentence he went through in local jail, this offense resulted in a 16-month sentence in state prison. Jarrod was no longer surrounded by minor offenders. He was now in a facility with violent criminals, including murderers and others serving long-term sentences for serious offenses. The intensity of the environment left no room for complacency, and the stakes of his choices became brutally clear. According to sources close to the family, living among such dangerous individuals was a wake-up call for Jarrod. The experience forced him to confront a stark reality. If he didn't change his behavior, he risked ending up like the people around him. The time in prison offered clarity, showing him a potential future he did not want. So for the first time in his life, he understood that survival required an intentional shift in his actions and mindset. Yet, the consequences of his past mistakes were permanent. Even as he emerged from prison with a renewed determination, his felony conviction remained on record, a lasting reminder that the past could not be erased. The prison experience also left lasting habits, particularly in the way he handled stress. He had learned to approach problems aggressively, a coping mechanism forged in a high-pressure environment. While it helped him survive in prison, it would occasionally resurface later in life, sometimes complicating his public persona and professional relationships once he gained fame. At the age of 21, Jarrod walked out of detention with no career prospects, but with a clear determination not to return to the criminal world he had just left. He also made it a responsibility to live rightly. It was like the story of a young man shaped by early missteps and facing the consequences of his actions. Over time, the transformation began. Jarrod began to apply focus and strategic thinking to more constructive pursuits. This was what led him to the peak of his career. He started rebuilding his life, learning to channel his energy into legitimate endeavors and business ventures. The lessons from his past became the foundation for discipline, strength, and personal growth. It was at this moment he started out as an actor. He appeared as intentional and poured his all into the things he did. By the time he stepped onto the Storage Wars stage years later, he was a man by survival and, by all means, determined to make it count. In retrospect, Jarrod's early years were crucial, testing both his limits and his capacity for change. They left scars, certainly, but also important lessons. Despite all Jarrod has built from his grass to grace story, the confrontation news with Brandi moved him from reality television favorite to a figure entwined in controversy. From being a fan favorite to the center of controversy,
See what you got. Brandi said she got the best unit of the day. Yeah, I'll be the judge of that. How much you spent on this unit?
1900.
Before Jarrod Schulz's name dominated headlines for all the wrong reasons, he had carved a niche for himself in Southern California's competitive storage auction scene. In the early 2000s, he and Brandi Passante were regulars at local auctions, often arriving early to size up lockers and strategize bids. While many saw only discarded belongings, Jarrod possessed an almost instinctive ability to spot value where others saw junk. Over time, this talent earned him respect among auctioneers and fellow bidders alike, laying the foundation for his eventual rise to television fame. Jarrod's approach combined intuition with preparation. He studied past auctions, memorized which units had yielded profitable items, and learned to calculate potential resale values in seconds. This skill was a carefully honed craft. His ability to predict which lockers held hidden gems became his signature, distinguishing him from other bidders and establishing him as a formidable presence in the auction world. Television producers quickly noticed the charisma and confidence that Jarrod brought to the auction floor. His quick wit, playful banter, and occasional theatrics turned ordinary bidding into compelling entertainment. Viewers gravitated toward him for his unique personality. On Storage Wars, Jarrod was portrayed as the savvy, street-smart professional. This personality made him become a fan favorite almost immediately. Yet, this public image carried weight beyond ratings. The trust viewers placed in his on-screen judgment meant that any misstep in his personal life had the potential to ripple far beyond the auction room. For years, his reputation remained untarnished, with fans and co-stars alike seeing Jarrod as both a competitor and a friend, someone who had earned his place through skill, perseverance, and charm. That carefully cultivated persona, however, began to unravel when news of his involvement in a violent confrontation emerged. The incident, which involved Brandi Passante and occurred years after their professional partnership was widely recognized, instantly thrust Jarrod into controversy. Suddenly, the qualities that had made him engaging on television, his confidence and assertiveness, were reframed in a far darker context. Social media exploded with reactions, speculation, and criticism, challenging the fan-favorite image he had spent years building. To the fans, the charges brought against him were more than legal formalities. The news was jarring. The man who had confidently navigated thousands of dollars in storage lockers now faced scrutiny and doubt over actions outside the auction floor. His relationships, reputation, and career trajectory all came under the microscope. Even co-stars, who had shared cameras and screen time with him for years, were caught in the unexpected fallout, forced to navigate their association with the controversy. For someone whose early career had been defined by careful calculation and keen judgment, the sudden exposure of his personal struggles marked a dramatic and unanticipated shift. In the eyes of fans and the media, the fall from grace was swift, underscoring how public figures, no matter how beloved, remain vulnerable to the scrutiny that comes with recognition. What happened to Jarrod and Storage Wars after the legal charges went beyond control? The impact of the news on Storage Wars. Jarrod Schulz was more than a cast member on Storage Wars. He was one of the show's defining personalities. For over a decade, viewers tuned in not just to watch auctions, but to witness the chemistry and tension between Jarrod and Brandi Passante. So when the controversy removed him from the public eye, it created an undeniable void in the series' dynamic.
Damn, it is already hot out here. Not as hot as the market is right now. My company's been booming, so I need to make sure that I have enough items to keep up with all these new clients.
The absence of Jarrod from Storage Wars then was immediately noticeable. When the latest season premiered, longtime fans spotted something unusual. Jarrod's name was missing from the opening credits, and he was entirely absent throughout the episodes. Social media erupted with speculation, and forums lit up with questions about his whereabouts. For many, it was jarring to see a figure who had been synonymous with the show's identity suddenly erased from the narrative. This absence disrupted the familiar rhythm that fans had come to expect. The dynamic between Jarrod and Brandi had always been central. Jarrod's instinct-driven and impulsive decisions, balanced by Brandi's analytical, level-headed approach, created a tension that defined the show. Without him, the energy of the auctions shifted. Moments that once relied on their banter, strategic duels, or playful arguments now felt incomplete, leaving a subtle gap in the series' storytelling. Beyond the viewer experience, Jarrod's departure had broader implications for the business and branding of Storage Wars. Reality television increasingly considers personal conduct as integral to the show's reputation and marketability. Networks must weigh the potential impact of controversies on audience perception and overall brand value. In Jarrod's case, the legal issues and public scrutiny surrounding him presented a reputational risk. By the conclusion of Season 13, it appeared that the network made a calculated decision. Retaining him on-screen could alienate sponsors and undermine the show's image, whereas his removal allowed the series to continue with minimal disruption to its commercial partnerships. Jarrod's professional separation from Brandi also had lasting consequences. Schulz and Passante Auctions, the business they had co-managed and which had served as the real-world foundation for their television personas, was permanently dissolved. Brandi maintained the enterprise's visibility through her ongoing appearances on Storage Wars, while Jarrod stepped away entirely from public-facing business ventures. The combination of network decisions and the dissolution of his professional partnership effectively ended Jarrod Schulz's era as a television personality. For fans, this transition was a whole lot to handle. It seemed off and viewed as a cultural shift from what the show was. Online communities and fan forums began revisiting iconic moments, debating which auctions and locker wins highlighted Jarrod's strategic genius, and reminiscing about the humor and tension that defined his interactions with Brandi and other bidders. His absence highlighted just how much the show had relied on his presence, both for entertainment and for maintaining a recognizable brand identity. Ultimately, Jarrod's exit marked a turning point for Storage Wars. While the series continues with other cast members, the dynamic that made it compelling for many viewers is permanently altered. Auction strategies, rivalries, and on-screen chemistry no longer carry the same resonance. This means that the show must adapt to a new balance of personalities. For Jarrod Schulz, the removal signified not only a pause in his television career, but also a reshaping of the Storage Wars legacy he helped build. After everything that has happened to Jarrod Schulz, what is his reality today? Where Jarrod Schulz stands today. Since the 2021 controversy, Jarrod Schulz has maintained a surprisingly low profile. Unlike many reality TV figures who leverage social media to stay relevant, Jarrod retreated from the public eye. His Instagram, once a platform for auction wins, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and personal updates, went quiet around the time the legal matters surfaced. Interviews, public appearances, and media commentary became rare. For a man who once thrived in front of cameras, the silence is unbelievable. Nevertheless, stepping away from television didn't mean stepping away from business entirely. Long before the incident that reshaped his public image, Jarrod had invested in Rush Bar and Grill, a local spot in Lake Forest, California. Following his exit from Storage Wars, the bar became his primary focus. Today, it functions as a neighborhood hub. Offering live music, televised sports events, and a casual atmosphere for regulars. For many patrons, Jarrod is just the owner, and few are aware that he was once a familiar face on reality television. In a way, the business provides him the anonymity that fame never allowed. It gave him a sense of calmness and a place to operate without constant public scrutiny. Jarrod's personal life has also shifted out of the spotlight. He was previously linked to Rochelle Beckman, an employee at Rush Bar and Grill, with social media posts showing them together around 2019 and 2020. Since then, Jarrod has stayed mostly offline, leaving the current status of the relationship uncertain. Meanwhile, Brandi Passante, his former partner both professionally and personally, has continued her television career and public presence, sharing updates about her life, auctions, and business ventures. The divergence in their paths is notable. Where Brandi remains in the spotlight, Jarrod has chosen a quieter, more private existence. Professionally, Jarrod's shift reflects both circumstance and choice. The Storage Wars spotlight, once a stage where he thrived, is no longer part of his daily life. Instead, his focus is on tangible ventures like running a business that serves the local community. While he may no longer command national attention, his entrepreneurial instincts remain. Owning and managing a bar involves negotiation, financial planning, and customer relations, and these were the same skills that once helped him succeed in storage auctions. In a way, Jarrod has translated his competitive and strategic abilities from television to a quieter, real-world setting. Public perception of Jarrod is complex. Among longtime fans, he is remembered for his auction prowess, quick thinking, and chemistry with Brandi. For others, he remains a figure shrouded in the aftermath of controversy. Yet those who interact with him locally, at the bar, or in community settings encounter a very different side. A business owner focused on day-to-day operations. Obviously, he was no longer performing for cameras and largely removed from the drama that once defined him. What do you think about Jarrod's situation from the beginning? Do you think he deserves a second chance after everything that happened? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.